Hello and welcome. I am Cindershadow, and today we're going to talk about D&D and gaming and tabletop RPGs in particular. Why? What is going on? Well, apparently it's still racist if you don't let people play the game, even though people are letting people play the game. That's right. This is where we've gone. It's gone full circle. This has been one of these topics that I've done a few videos on. A lot of people have done videos on, and it gets brought up at least once or twice a year with a new article. People go off the deep end once again, saying playing these tabletop games are people are being excluded from them because of racist means, and that in itself is false. I don't know where this comes from. I grew up with friends, and we played D&D. We used to play every weekend for quite a long time. And even though there was, you'd have that one kid that just wants to play, you let him play, and then he cries when his character dies or something, or he does something stupid. And no point was the race ever brought into these things. It was, who cares? Let's just do this all together. At one point, I even made a drow character, and I thought it was cool. It was neat. It was fun. They had unique abilities where they could see in the dark and do other things, and it was never about the race. It was never about their skin color or anything like that. And this is inherently something that continues today as being a touching point. Going back to Tolkien's orcs, with people saying that they were a part of they're racist because they were seen as a different race, and people have added things to them. Orcs generally, when Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings, they were meant to be the opposing factor in a world war setting. They were never about race. They were the opposing factor. They were seen as the evil that was there. It was never about race or genetics or anything like that. Myself, I am a huge R.A. Salvador fan. I love the Drizzt story, or Dritz, not Drizzt, Dritz. And it's something that I absolutely adore. And I've read quite a bit of the books. At one point, I was reading a book a day. That's how engrossed I was with it. And it wasn't because he was different. It was because I thought the character development of a drow turning against drow society was great. I thought it was something else. I thought it was good. But in the recent years, we've had things like beholders never being a part of them being generally evil, an aberration, something that doesn't exist normally in nature, something that is a complete aberration has now been taken back by Wizards of the Coast, them saying, oh, they're not all evil. They can be good, they can be this, they can be that. And yes, that is rule zero at your table. Talk to your DMs. Figure out the playstyle that works for you. Now, ultimately, if you go into a LGS to do a D&D night and actually try and play a game there, it is a completely different experience. And myself, I don't find myself drawn to want to do that. I have my set play group. I like to play with them. I will do things with other people here and again, but generally I like my play group because I'm comfortable with my play group, and that is part of it with playing a tabletop RPG. I used to play a lot of White Wolf, where it was a in-person with a large group of people. I've even done what's called Sunfall campaigns, and those, you go out into the woods, you go camping for 3 days, and you have a fun time playing um, playing around in medieval times in the middle of the woods. You create characters and stats and everything like that, and it was the most welcoming group I know to this day. Now, this whole story of how people have been excluded from these things, it doesn't make any sense. There's a level of comfort when it comes to playing D&D and playing with your friends in a tabletop setting in your home. There's a level of comfort that you want to do that. And honestly, I'm not going to invite a random stranger into my home to play D&D if I don't know who they are, if I'm not friends with them to begin with. That type of thing starts at maybe an LGS or your school or something like that, and around the kids, the other people you grow up with, the friends you make throughout your life. And it doesn't necessitate where this is a racist remark or a racist, misogynist buzzword, buzzword here now. That's pretty much what it's come down to. If you're not saying these buzzwords and having them out there in articles, then you're doing things wrong from the eyes of the media. The media looks at this as, we need to make money off this, so we need to add in all the buzzwords we can and try and create this divide so people sit there and get up in arms, and maybe they make the story in the long run because people get upset with each other and don't get along. This is where it's a completely different story. I've been running this YouTube channel for now 3 years, and I have met a bunch of people around it. Hell, I even had Crash Test come out from Britain to Canada. And because he came all that way, I went out of my way to try and meet with them, because this has changed the way I look at online and how I want to grow and welcome people to the community. Hey, I'm probably going to link the Discord on this video. If you guys want into my Discord, we can talk there further. But people going forward, this is the situation that we're in, and we need to stop producing or stop going and listening to the media outlets. Only like 10% of people in the world are using Twitter now for any means whatsoever. All this stuff that we see online, all this racist rhetoric that we see continuously going on is absolutely ridiculous. It's something that needs to stop. I got an article here and a couple tweets that we're going to look at, because this is just something that I've talked at length before, and it's something that needs to be out in the open. So, if you guys like what you see here, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment on the YouTube comment section down below, share this video, because this is probably going to be one of those videos that you guys will find very interesting. Now, I was already researching and making one of these videos because I have an article that was sent to me. But then this morning I wake up to film this video and I come across my good friend Matt from helping the Guildless. Another YouTube channel. They've been around a lot longer than I have. They do just random stories from around the internet. They are well worth checking out. They're under Help for the Guildless. And so definitely go check them out. You won't be unsurprised, or you will have a good time on his channel. There's a lot of things that he's done that are just comedy, and he does a lot of good voices. He even plays games on Twitch. So go give my friend Help to the Guildless a subscription. Now, this dude right here, there's another blue checkmark nerd going around trying to say tabletop RPGs is bigoted and all the other buzzwords. This is the real crap. Gamers beg people to join our hobby en masse, to enjoy our things with us. If that suddenly changed, maybe look in the mirror. And he's responding, he's quote tweeting, the Angel King 47. I've never had trouble getting into D&D or other tabletop RPGs communities, and I look like this. So I have no effing idea who your source is. People actually beg me to start playing games. One of the most welcoming communities around, right? So he's responding to Cam Banks. This is your blue check mark that this is all around right now. And this was 2 days ago. I'm filming this on the 27th of March. This is on the 25th. I hear so many stories of people who wanted to get into D&D or some other tabletop RPG when they were younger, but couldn't because some gatekeeping ass rag said it wasn't for girls or gays or black folks or who knows what else. I wish it was better now, but it still needs much work. You only hurt the tabletop RPG community by keeping others out of your bigotry and exclusion and your tired old ideas of who plays these games and who makes those decisions. Tabletop is for everyone. Yes, it is for everyone. Anyone can go pick up a book and run a campaign, but you also need friends and people that you know to run a campaign. Personally, I'm not comfortable walking into an LGS and playing D&D with random people. I won't just go in there and do that. I have a little bit of a self-esteem in that sense that I don't feel that I can perform by them. But that said, I also got into a group, a role-playing group, a large role-playing group, and that was for the White Wolf Vampire and Mage, the Ascension, and all this other stuff. And that is a completely different subsection of RPGs. It's not tabletop because it's more live action role playing. It's more out there, and that's where you get a little bit more sense of playing these games. Now, a tabletop RPG, you're sitting around a table, you're sitting there for hours on end playing this, acting these things out, and there is a certain sense that you have stuff going on. You've got to interact, and you actually get to know people on a more personal level when it comes to a tabletop role-playing game. That is the big difference here. It has nothing to do with people's skin color or who they are, if they're a guy or a girl, if they're whatever you want to label yourself today. It has nothing to do with that. It's the fact that you come down to, you get to know these people at a personal level. They become your friends. And if they're not going to be your friends in the first place, you're not going to sit there and want to role play with them. You're not going to turn around and want to have fun. There is a competition style version of tabletop RPGs that you can do for D&D in particular, where a DM will come in and they will have pre-generated characters, and you can go to these stores and then you do this as a competition, gaining points for certain feats that you are able to pull off in the game, and it's based on luck with the dice and based on your role-playing skills, and then you get awarded, and there is a ladder system for this type of thing. That's a competition style stuff. Competition is a completely different version of tabletop RPG. It is a completely different landscape and has nothing to do with any of this. But I'm bringing it up because that might be where this type of stuff is more going to. If I'm sitting in an LGS, a local game store, am I sitting there to role play, to sit there and play D&D? In some cases, maybe, because some local LGSs or local game stores have rooms you can rent, and there's sometimes something that helps pay the bills. They rent out a room for like $20 an hour. You go there with all your friends, so you're all paying like $5 an hour, or maybe $10 as a flat fee, and you sit there for a few hours. Then you're buying equipment there, you're buying dice, you're buying all your books, you're helping support that business. Now, these are privately funded or privately rented out rooms in some cases. Now, in a lot of cases, when you're sitting there playing these games, people that are interested in these events may show up and ask to join or something like that. But in a lot of cases, they're just looky-loos. They look in there. They see what's going on. They sometimes will listen and want to know more about it and try and get into it. And that's when they talk to them. But when role playing is happening, you're trying to stay focused. And when you have outside forces coming in, then it can really throw off the balance, because when you're playing these games, you get into a groove and you have the ebbs and flows like everything else. And if that starts getting thrown off by random people coming up, that's where things get really, really negative, and the experiences can be turned sideways. They don't create a welcoming experience in that sense, because maybe the group is already sitting there playing, but to come up and sit at the same table as a group that's already started playing, you've got to roll a character, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to sit there and know the books first off. So first thing first, if you want to get into role playing and tabletop RPG, you need to know the books. You need to know the rules, right? It has nothing to do with a skin color or any label, once again, that these people in the media continue to try and push. Has nothing to do with that. I guarantee you half of these people that are making these stories or making stuff like these tweets maybe don't even know the rules. When you get into a journalistic side of things, have they ever picked up D&D? Have they ever picked up one of these games to actually play them? Do they know the rules? Do they know how to make a character? That'll be the biggest hurdle of this. You can't just turn around and start role playing and not make the character. Sure, a good dungeon master or storyteller will have pre-generated characters in their backup that they continuously use. Maybe you can hand that off to the person to try and play it. But once again, if they don't know the rules, they don't know what they're rolling dice for, they don't know how to look up skills, feats, everything like that, they don't understand the character, then it's going to come off, once again, as a very negative experience because you haven't taken the time to go through the process to learn the rules. It's not simply walk up and play the game. That's plain and simple what it is. If you want to play a role-playing game, your best bet, honestly, look at online forums. Hell, go onto Reddit and say, go on to your city subreddit and say, I would like to play RPG games. I would like to find a group that I can play with. And I can tell you right now, people will probably reach out. Hell, put up a flyer at your local game store saying, I would like to join an RPG group to learn these games and to do these things. And people may pick you up. That's how this works. If you are on your own, say you're new to the city and you want to play these games, you got to learn to make friends first. You're not just going to pick up a game and walk in there and play it all. Like, that's not how these things work. That's not how this continues. I would more look at joining a drama club than trying to join a role-playing group. In all honesty, you would have a much better time and you have a much better, easier way to do it, because when you join a drama group, you're not playing games. You don't have to know the rules. The rules are more basic in a drama group than there would be with a role-playing game. In a role-playing game, you need to know skills, feats, levels. You need to know experience points. You need to know hit points. You need to know what damage does. You need to know a list of weapons. You need to know the books. You need to know the rules. And when books are hundreds of pages thick and you just walk up into a local game store and try to join a random group that's rented out a private room, you're not going to have a good time. You're going to sit there and get very upset and very frustrated very quickly. This whole situation of articles being written. There's another one here from Downing in the Comics. I don't even think I need to go over it at this point. North American Simulation Gaming Association author claims Dungeons & Dragons promotes racist existentialism because humans cannot realistically imagine a completely disconnected reality. This word salad of an article, like these quotes here that they have there, it's absolutely ridiculous to even think of this. The idea of racial identity determines the path that we take in life. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You want to know? I'm Canadian. I am mixed race Canadian, plain and simple, and I've never once drawn back onto it. I've seen people get away with a lot more. Like, this is the designer of who's saying this, and they've got the tag, the BLM tag right in their LinkedIn page or whatever this is, State Penn University. Like, this group, I'm sorry, I there's so many things I find wrong with that, and I'm not even going to get into that side of things. This whole everyone's racist and everyone's against me, woe is me, it needs to end. It needs to stop. You want to play these games, learn the rules, find friends to play the games with. You can't just, it's near impossible for you to walk into a store without knowing the rules and just randomly pick up a game. It's not easy. You actually have to push yourself forward. Now, all of this ascribes cultural traits to races and including physical traits and experimental knowledge based on race. Yes, they're not based on race, they're based on species. You've got dwarves, elves, gnomes, human, demons, angels, aberrations. You've got all of these, this whole list. The monster manual book alone is hundreds of pages long. And if you want, you can play any monster you want to in the monsters manual book. Good, evil, bad, chaotic, lawful, whatever you want to play. And you can make up the rules as you go. But once again, if you don't know the rules, you're not going to have a good time. That's plain and simple. If you don't know the people out there, you're not going to get to do it. Knowing that they've spoken, the wonderful creators of DM Guild and online marketplace and third-party D&D content regarding this concept would recall that several of these creators had asserted that the extensions of Second Fantasy World automatically inspires players to draw connections. Yes, you're going to... Here's the thing. I am always drawn to play a neutral, good human. Plain and simple, right? For me, because that's where I believe I fall on the alignment chart. Usually I play neutral good. It's one of the easier ones to play. I don't have to go out there because you're already doing so many things. But I have played chaotic evil, lawful good, or lawful stupid. And you can do these things when you get used to the game. Your best bet is to play something that you're more neutral towards. And true neutral, don't play true neutral because you will not have a fun time. True neutral is you always got to have a trade-off when it comes down to it, and it's just not a good alignment overall. You're not going to have a fun time with true neutral. Yeah, like this whole article, I don't even need to read this at this point because they're talking about how people don't want to play roles. They want to play something more akin to themselves and not cross the lines from reality to real life. But like, where do we go? Where do we go? If you're not going to learn the rules, if you're not going to sit there and find friends to play this game with, if you want to walk into a store and randomly pick up a role-playing game and just sit down with a group, it's not that simple. You've got to, like I said, you got to know the rules. You got to know this. You got to know that. And unless you're going to turn around and educate yourself in the rules, you're not going to have a good time, and you're going to come back with a negative experience. And in some cases, that's where people go, well, you were racist to me. You were misogynist to me. No, they weren't. You didn't push yourself to actually be there. You didn't do what was necessary to stick around, to know the rules, and actually to play the game. That's plain and simple where it comes down to. It's not easy to sit there and approach someone in the first place. It's not easy to make new friends. It never has been. That's part of human existence. Now, to sit there and say that it is a racist or misogynist buzzword here, there, and everything else is your problem. No, that more comes down to, I would say, a self-esteem issue, and you need to get over yourself and get off your high horse and come live with the rest of the people that are down below, because that's where I've been all my life. I don't put myself higher than anyone else. I don't put myself below than anyone else. I try to treat someone as if they're equal to me. But at the same time, unless you're willing to put some work towards doing the work, you're not going to have a good time. And this is why we hear stories like this from journalists where they just don't understand. Who is Cam Banks? Who are you? You're tabletop RPG designer, creative for Cortex RPG, Pro Banks, Twitter dad, rustic cell sword, and opinions are his own. So his opinion is that everyone's racist against him. That's would be my best guess here at this point, because you want to sit there and tell people that are people are being racist towards them because they don't understand the rules. I You're a designer, so you've got to know what's going on here. You got to understand that unless people are willing to read your stuff, no one's going to understand your stories. No one's going to want to play the stories that you write. And sitting there and telling people that they're gatekeeping because they're a girl or they're gay or they're black is not right. People are more open and welcoming than you think, but there is a hurdle that a lot of people need to understand when it comes to an RPG. And to get over that hurdle, you've got to pick up a book and read the book and understand the rules. This has nothing to do with people being welcoming or not welcoming. People are more than willing to teach these rules through and through. But at the same time, you've just got to open up and make friends first. You can't just, honestly, you can't just walk into a group and say, I'm playing with you, because they're going to sit there and they're going to be judgmental. They're going to try and knock you down because you tried to force your way into their group, and not everyone is comfortable with that. It's a two-way street. Unless you're willing to make friends first and foremost, you're not going to have a good time. That's plain and simple when it comes to role-playing games. Like I said, join a drama group, join a more real world RPG before you try and sit down with the tabletop RPG, because the rules are muchly different. There's a much different thing when you're doing rock paper scissors compared to rolling dice and having everything out there in a fantasy realm. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. This is Proud Canadian Phoenix signing off. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you all next time.